Hey guys, behind me is a Ford Ranger, but if you're a Ranger guy or gal, you'll note those two little accent marks around the grill, which means that this is no regular Ranger. Tommy, what is it?
This is the new Ford Ranger Tremor, the top dog off-road model of the Ranger, and in this video, we're going to see how it does in the real world and see how it does, you know, in a little bit of snow.
Yes, because the most important thing in the snow, of course, Tommy, are those side steps.
No, Dad, they're the tires, of course, and the Ranger Tremor has a set of General Grabber ATX tires, 265/70 R17, but the cool part about these tires, check out that little snowflake. They're actually snow rated, and the actual tread pattern is pretty similar to what you'd find from something like BFG in the KO2, so really curious to see how the Grabber will do in the snow.
Yeah, and before we take it for a ride and you take them on a walk around, let's talk about the Tremor name. That, of course, comes from the Super Duty Tremor, which before it was a full-size Tremor. It's confusing, but anyway, it means that this truck is kind of halfway to a Ranger Raptor, which people around the world get, but we don't get. But why don't you give them a walk around and explain what I'm talking about, Tommy?
There's also an F-150 Tremor coming, which will slot between the FX4 and the Raptor. But of course, we haven't heard anything from Ford about the Ranger Raptor coming to the US. So for now, this is the top dog model. So the Tremor is a $4,200 option on top of either the Lariat or the XLT. What it gives you is a revamped suspension, wheels and tires. It sits a little bit wider. You have some interior changes. It's a pretty big deal. Now, the suspension is probably the coolest part of the truck. The Fox 2.0 suspension with remote reservoirs on the rear. It sits about 0.8 of an inch higher than a standard Ranger. You've got a little bit of additional travel in the front and the back, 20 millimeters in the front, 30 millimeters in the back, and that's with additional jounce travel. So when you're off-road in some big ruts, instead of just slamming into the bump stop, you'll have a little bit of additional kind of cushion before things get really, really nasty. So this is, of course, the four-door Ranger. Towing capacity payload is high on the Tremor. If we look at the sticker in the door, you'll find out quickly that you don't lose a lot of capacity because of the Tremor off-road group. You can see here, 1,431 pounds of payload, which is awesome for an off-road truck.
Yeah, it's more than the competitors, which, by the way, if you take a peek over there, you'll see two of the competitors. There's a Gladiator and there's a Tacoma, and we took them off-road yesterday and compared them to this Tremor, but because Ford gave it to us with some embargoes, we won't be able to show you that video for at least 5 days. But stay tuned, that's coming.
Well, let's go ahead and take them for a ride, Dad. I'll show you some cool things on the front while you hop on in. So first of all, I do love the squared off hood. I think that's really cool. We talked about the little fangs. There goes the 2.3 liter EcoBoost, 270 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. These side steps are kind of unique. They're not a full-length running board, rather you have these two individual steps for both the rear and the front seat passengers. All right, let's hop on in.
Can I do wait, before you get in, can I do my little host arm display of the beautiful stitched Tremor in the seat?
Yep, that's one of the big changes on the inside. The other big change up here on top of the dashboard, you have 6 auxiliary switches.
Right out of the Raptor.
Those would be great for things like gauge pods, or sorry, light pods and light bars.
You know, I'm not in love with these, and I'll tell you why. I think they're very prominent, but it would be cool if maybe Ford took a page out of, like, let's say, the Toyota's playbook, where they put little binnacles up here with like inclinometer, maybe temperature gauge. But you like these?
Yeah, I do like the auxiliary switches. I think it makes modifying the truck a little bit easier than you typically would find. So, 4-wheel drive selector, 2 high, 4 high, 4 low, and what's the TM?
That is the ability to change the terrain modes, Tommy. And if you look, right now we are in normal mode, but since it's snowing, I'm gonna skip it over to grass, gravel, and snow.
There you go. All right, should we engage the 10-speed automatic and take it for a ride?
Yeah, I'll wait for you to put your seatbelt on, and then we'll head on out. Can I turn your heated seat on?
That would be great. So let's talk about this particular Tremor. This is the Lariat version of the truck. It has an MSRP of $48,000, which initially seems like a lot of money, but when you consider that it's easy to get a Gladiator Rubicon into the $60,000 range, that isn't all that bad. Now, chief competitors are that right there, the Tacoma TRD Pro.
Hold on, let me back up, and there's one other one.
Yeah, of course, there's our Gladiator.
The one that we're, of course, missing is the Chevy twin, right? The GMC and the Colorado.
Right, so the Colorado is a ZR2 with the front and rear lockers, and then the GMC is the Canyon AT4, which is well, that's a whole nother story for another day. But let's talk about the off-road gear now that not that we'll be using it on the road today, but rear locking differential, trail control, skid plates, no front diff lock. I don't think it has a front limited slip either, but you know, that's just the way it goes sometimes, Dad.
Yeah, the other thing it doesn't have, which the competitors do have, are other powertrains, right? You get one choice of powertrains here, which is, you know, the turbocharged 4-cylinder. But in the competitors, you can get a diesel Gladiator. You can, of course, get the baby Duramax in the Chevy twins, right?
You can get the 6 gerbils in the Tacoma.
You can get the 6 gerbils. But you know what? I don't really mind that, because the cool thing about this engine is it's really powerful and it's turbocharged. So when you give it the beans, it really scoots. For a mid-sized truck, I think this might be one of the fastest ones, but let's just give it the beans here, find out. Good grip, a little bit of turbo lag, but yeah, that is good, dude. And I'm at the speed limit. Wow, that's really good.
It accelerates with a lot of confidence, something that can't be said at altitude with something like the Canyon with the V6 or the Gladiator.
You know, like Andre says, a scolded cat, bad cat, bad cat.
Yeah, Andre does like his weird phrases sometimes. So the interior on the Ranger is one area that I've critiqued in the past, and I know that you don't often drive down the road caressing your dashboard, but there are some examples of cost cutting. That's actually nice. The dash is nice.
That's not
Yeah, that's not so good.
It's a little scratchy.
And then the door panels are just really hard plastic, and you know, like a lot of the buttons down here in the center console, they just don't feel that nice. And that's because the interior on this truck dates back to about 2015, where this Ranger was sold abroad and still is sold abroad as a T6 Ranger. We didn't get it till 2019, but that's some of the reason that it's feeling a little bit outdated.
Yeah, but you know what? I've just spent a lot of time in the Tacoma and the Gladiator, and by far this is the most comfortable in terms of kind of driving position, right? In the Gladiator, your like nose is plastered against the front of the windshield, and in the Tacoma, my leg actually hits the dashboard, and these tires are losing a little bit of grip, but not too bad, but actually isn't all that comfortable. I would say if I was going to go cross country in a mid-sized truck, this would be it. You know what's weird, Tommy? Like, here's a weird thing, right? So these are mid-sized trucks, and then the next size up, of course, are half tons or full-size trucks, right? But it's like we go from like a size medium in this to a double XL in the full-size trucks. Like you skip the large and the XL for some reason, right? Isn't it weird?
Well, it's because that the mid-size truck of today is the full-size truck of yesterday. So they have gotten pretty porky in the size department, but that's what Americans want. And the benefit is a large rear seat and a large towing capacity. I think this tows somewhere around 7,500 pounds, which is a lot. Now, I think the best part about this truck is the ride quality with the Fox 2.0 suspension. And this is kind of a big eye-opener. I wasn't expecting this, but the Tremor just kind of floats along like an old school Raptor, which is really, really cool in the mid-sized truck segment. I think this Tremor specifically has the best ride.
Yeah, it's a very cushy ride. I think what you end up with is a truck that is as close to a pre-runner, right, as you're going to get in the mid-sized truck range. So you know, there are different kinds of off-roading, of course, Tom, you're right. There's rock crawling, which is something that the Jeep Gladiator excels at,
right,
even though it does have that long wheelbase. And then there's desert running, which is a whole different thing. Actually, Ford does make, Jeep does make kind of a competitor to this desert running truck, but it's certainly not the Rubicon that we tested.
No, it's the Mojave. I must say, Dad, that turn signal is pretty annoying.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's already bugging me.
So, configurable gauge pods in the Ranger, so the left one and the right one can both be changed to display various things. So use that little toggle on the steering wheel. There you go, and go up and down. Go display mode. Oh no! And then scroll up and down. There you go. So you can kind of sort through various things.
I found the off-road one, look at that.
There you go, yeah, there's the off-road page. The sync system is looking a little bit dated now.
I mean, the whole interior is looking a little bit dated, to be honest, right? Many of the new trucks now are completely digital. This is feeling a little bit old. I think, you know, Ford needs to kind of up their interiors, and they've done so in the new F-150, so I can't wait to see what this will look like when it gets redesigned.
Although folks on YouTube will say that the basic interior is easy to clean out, so maybe there's some merit there. Certainly worth considering. So, the Tremor package, is it a good value? $4,200. In my opinion, it's largely stickers, and then you're paying for the suspension. The suspension is a big change. I think it is pretty good value.
Look, you know, I've been to plenty of dealerships where they take a standard, either mid-size truck or full-size truck, slap some pretty basic, I'm being kind here, lift on it and then charge 10K over sticker. And so I think if you were to try to do this yourself, you could probably do it for around $4,000, but the magic isn't in the lift, right? It's in the engineering behind the lift, right? So we've lifted a lot of vehicles, and I gotta say this, more often than not, when you lift a vehicle, the ride becomes really bad. And this ride is really good, and that's because Ford's got an entire engineering department that's working with the geometry of the suspension, and actually doing a lot of the deep research and testing to make sure that this rides as well as it should when you change the geometry of the tires and suspension and truck.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there, Dad, and it's worth it because not only is it comfortable, but it's covered by warranty. The other cool thing about the Ranger, and I haven't explored this in depth, so I don't know too much about it, but the new Ford Performance engine horsepower increase.
Yes.
It'd be really great to test that out soon as well. But be sure to stay tuned because we've got the Tremor going up against some pretty stiff competition on some pretty stiff off-road terrain, and I think you'll be surprised with how it performs.
Yeah, and I think we need to check that towing number. I'm not sure it does 7,500.
I'm pretty sure it does.
It really?
I just listened to Andre's podcast over at TFL
All
Talk
right,
with the
then,
engineer.
All right, then I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments below if I'm being, silly, or if I thought that the Gladiator had the highest towing capacity, but I could be wrong about that.
Well, the Gladiator, I think, is more in the Sport S with the max tow.
But it's payload limited. This has a lot more payload.
And
so if you're looking for payload, this should, have it.
I think this is up there on the towing capacity.
All right, so there you have it, guys. I really enjoyed this video, Tommy. I love driving in the snow, and I gotta say, I'm impressed. Now, if they were just, maybe put the 2.7 under the hood, right?
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
Wouldn't that be cool? You'd have a proper Ranger Raptor. See you guys next time. Ciao.